Have you ever considered stepping on the same ground where the ancient Egyptians erected their magnificent pyramids, the most famous and enduring historical monuments?
People are looking at that have failed to take into account the severity of these events we're talking about. Because the question always is, where are the artifacts? Where's the pottery? Where is the evidence that this civilization existed? And I have two responses to that.
These massive buildings that rise from the sandy earth have captivated generations of explorers, scholars, and tourists. The pyramids, however, were not the only wonders of this ancient civilization. The Egyptians built enormous tombs loaded with wealth and secrets for their pharaohs and aristocrats. What mysteries are buried in these ancient burial grounds? What discoveries await us in the Nile Valley? Join us as we piece together the mysteries and legends of ancient Egypt. The tallest pyramid. You might have seen pictures of the pyramids of Giza, the world's most famous and ancient monuments. But did you know that the one that looks the biggest is not the biggest? That's right, the Pyramid of Khafre, which is in the middle of the three pyramids, is not the largest and tallest of them all. It only appears that way because it is built on higher ground and has a steeper slope than the other two pyramids. The real giant of Giza is the Pyramid of Khufu, which is also known as the Great Pyramid. It is the oldest and largest of the three pyramids, and it was the highest structure in the world for over 3,800 years. The Pyramid of Khufu was built by Pharaoh Khufu, who ruled Egypt during the 4th dynasty. He wanted to create a magnificent tomb for himself. He commissioned thousands of workers to cut and transport huge blocks of stone from nearby quarries and assemble them into a perfect pyramid shape. The Pyramid of Khufu has a base length of 230.4 meters and an original height of 146.59 meters. That's equivalent to a 48-story building. Today, it stands at 138.75 meters because some outer casing stones have been removed or eroded over time. The Pyramid of Khafre has a base length of 215.5 meters and an original height of 143.5 meters. Today, it reaches 136.4 meters. It still has some of its smooth casing stones at the top, which reflect the sunlight and make it look taller than it is. The Pyramid of Khufu is not only taller but also broader and more voluminous than the Pyramid of Khafre. It covers an area of 5.29 hectares, more than 9 football fields. It has a volume of 2.58 million cubic meters, which is enough to fit over 30 Empire State Buildings. The Pyramid of Khafre has an area of 5.21 hectares and a volume of 2.21 million cubic meters. The pyramids of ancient Egypt are famous for their durability, although only partially. The massive building foundation structures have been retained, although they look nothing like before. Cheops' pyramid was clad in polished Tura limestone. A granite or basalt propped the building. The majestic tombs rose like shining diamonds from the scorching desert sand in brilliant white decades after completion. While natural degradation of the cladding can explain the pyramid's changing exteriorization, many of its interior changes are the result of hungry grave thieves. Many grave goods, riches, and even the bodies of previous monarchs have been stolen by rough robbers. The mystery surrounding the creation of the Cheops pyramid involves 2.65 million stone pieces. Each of these massive pieces weighs between 2 and 50 tons. Consider how much logistics would be required now to handle such a large project with all of our modern transportation options. This must have been a challenging task over 4,000 years ago. The gigantic monument was built in 20 years by 360,000 laborers, according to estimations. Given the ancient Egyptians' limited resources, 20 years seems short. One of the greatest puzzles of current scholarship is how the pharaonic kings built their world-famous structures so swiftly. The construction method is the same. The Cheops pyramid is a cool oasis in the scorching desert. Even without modern air conditioning or fans, the ancient Egyptians managed to keep the interior temperature below 20 degrees Celsius, while the summer soon heated the outside to 50 degrees Celsius. How did they achieve this remarkable feat of engineering? The pyramids may have served as a refuge from the unbearable heat for some people. However, historians are not sure how many or who were allowed to enter these majestic structures. They were mainly used for special occasions, such as burying the pharaohs or performing rituals. Those who had the privilege of being inside the pyramids probably appreciated the contrast between the coolness within and the heat without. The victory against time. We have learned that the millennia-old pyramids are mostly still beautiful. How is this feasible without specific technologies? As is known, just a few crumbling remnants remain of other massive structures and complexes. Checking out the 7 wonders of the ancient world clarifies this strange truth. Despite being created considerably earlier than Rhodes and Company, only the pyramids of Giza remain. Since previous pyramids on Earth collapsed due to natural deterioration or disasters, the mystery of how Giza's construction survived continues. The discovery of a gigantic stone coffin in one of Giza's pyramids is interesting, but not sensational. The coffin is too enormous for the burial room where it was found, making this amazing. Transporting the coffin into the chamber would have severely damaged the entryway and sarcophagus. Researchers have tried various versions, but none should disclose anything. The granite casket. The burial room appears to have been erected around the granite casket afterward. What drove ancient Egyptian architects to make such a risky move is unknown. Egyptians may have realized grave robbing would become an issue in the future. Egypt was famed for burying its deceased with gems, gold, and other luxuries. Robbers covet these valuables, which makes sense. If so, the leaders of that period may have tried to make stealing corpses prohibitively difficult. They may have erected the room and burial chamber around their coffin so it could never be removed. This is a conjecture, but the narrative of slave laborers being tied at the feet, tortured by their lords, and forced to pull the pyramid's gigantic stone blocks through the scorching desert sand with their last strength appears feasible. If this image sounds familiar, you've fallen for a prevalent myth. Although early historians used such images to explain the spectacular tomb's fast construction, there's now much more evidence that the vast ancient Egyptian pyramids were created without slave labor. The workers. The workers who built the pyramids lived in comfortable and well-provided quarters. They were not slaves, but highly skilled and respected craftsmen. They had their own villages near the construction sites, where they could grow food and stay with their families. One of the most controversial theories about the pyramids is that they were influenced by extraterrestrial visitors. Most scholars today try to understand how the ancient Egyptians achieved such amazing feats of architecture, but some people prefer to look for a more mysterious explanation. According to this parascience, pharaonic kingdoms had active contact with extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials were worshipped as deities, giving the Egyptians future technologies to build the pyramids quickly. It is hard to imagine a person could think of such a concept, let alone implement it. That believing aliens built the pyramids is not that strange. Since we cannot establish how humans produced it, they likely did not. The tallest structure in the world. The Great Pyramid of Giza was the world's tallest structure for almost 4 millennia, but do you know what building finally dethroned it? It was not a modern skyscraper, but a medieval cathedral in England. Lincoln Cathedral, perched on a hill in Lincolnshire, is a stunning example of early Gothic architecture. It was first consecrated in 1091 but went through several stages of building and rebuilding until the late Middle Ages. The most impressive feature of Lincoln Cathedral was its central spire, which reached 160 meters in height when it was finished in 1311. This made it the tallest building in the world at that time, towering over the Great Pyramid of Giza, which had an original height of 147 meters. The country with the most pyramids. Egypt is famous for its pyramids, the colossal tombs that have fascinated people for centuries. But did you know that Egypt does not have the most pyramids in the world? That honor belongs to Sudan, the former center of Nubian civilization. Sudan has nearly 220 pyramids, while Egypt has only 80. The pyramids of Sudan are smaller and steeper than those of Egypt, and they were built for the kings and queens of the Kushite kingdoms. One of the most impressive sites is Meroe, where over 40 pyramids stand in a row along the Nile. What was the Sphinx? Imagine a giant stone creature that has the face of a man and the body of a lion, guarding the entrance to a vast desert cemetery. This is the Sphinx of Giza, one of the most fascinating and mysterious monuments of ancient Egypt. The Sphinx is not only a remarkable example of ancient art and engineering, but also a witness to thousands of years of history and secrets. The Sphinx is believed to have been built during the Old Kingdom, around the 26th century BCE. by or for Pharaoh Khafre, who ruled Egypt during the 4th dynasty. Some scholars think that the human face of the Sphinx is a portrait of Khafre himself, while others suggest that it represents a generic pharaoh or a god. The lion's body may symbolize the power and majesty of the king or the guardian role of the Sphinx over the sacred necropolis. The original name and function of the Sphinx have yet to be discovered, as there are no references to it in any ancient Egyptian texts. However, some later texts from the New call it Horus of the Horizon, referring to a solar deity associated with the pharaoh. The Sphinx has undergone many changes and damages over its long history. It was carved out of a single block of limestone, which was exposed to erosion by wind, sand, and water. It also suffered from vandalism and human intervention, such as the removal of its nose and beard, which are now missing. The Sphinx was partially buried by sand for most of its existence until it was cleared and restored several times in modern times. The first major excavation and restoration project was conducted by French engineer Émile Bérés between 1925 and 1936. He also discovered a tunnel under the Sphinx's chest, which leads to a dead end. Another astounding surprise shocked archaeologists a few years later. Some experts claim to have unearthed the remnants of a 1,000-year-old city under the Giza Plateau. After dramatic accounts appeared in many publications worldwide, public interest in this significant finding inexplicably and quickly faded. The Egyptologists' focus seems to have returned to royal tombs and valuelessness. Today, it is unclear why a 4,000-year-old underground metropolis was discovered and forgotten overnight. It was claimed that the village's underground entrance was thought to be inside the Sphinx. However, several photographs show the Sphinx's secret tunnels and rooms. When asked, officials invariably say these strange corridors are buried or covered with water, making them impossible to explore. Question on the nose. One of the most noticeable features of the Great Sphinx of Giza is its missing nose. The mystery of how and why it was broken has sparked many debates and jokes over the years. For example, Obelix accidentally breaks the nose in the comic book Asterix and Cleopatra while climbing the statue. But what is the real story behind the Sphinx's nose, apart from fictional and humorous accounts? A common myth is that Napoleon's soldiers were shot off the nose during their invasion of Egypt. However, this is not true, as there are drawings and descriptions of the Sphinx without a nose that date back to before Napoleon's arrival. The most likely explanation is that the nose was deliberately vandalized by someone who wanted to damage the Sphinx's religious significance. The Sphinx was associated with the sun god Ra, and its nose may have been a symbol of divine breath or life force. The Hall of Record. What if the Sphinx of Giza was not only a guardian of the dead, but also a keeper of hidden secrets? Some people believe that the Sphinx has secret passages and chambers that lead to a lost library of ancient knowledge. This library, called the Hall of Records, is said to contain the secrets of the ancient Egyptians and even a mysterious civilization that came before them. But is there any truth to these claims? And if so, where are these hidden entrances, and what do they hide? Some American academics tried to solve these legends, which most people reject as contemporary wives' tales. Thus, specialists excavated 7 meters in front of the statue's paws. While the men failed to find a hidden passage, seismic data showed rooms beneath the Sphinx. Officially, these may be natural cavities. The Egyptian Antiquities Authority banned research. Again, they may have terminated these excavations for more obvious reasons, such as financial harm to the country. The purpose of Sphinx. Since the Great Sphinx of Giza is one of antiquity's most famous buildings, it's incredible that we don't know what Egyptologists used the remarkable hybrid monster of man and huge cat for. Many reasons for this intriguing topic have been proposed. On one hand, the Sphinx may have protected the Giza Plateau. Some historians perceive a stone guardian in the statue, whereas others see Horus. The Sphinx may also represent an idealized version of the ancient Egyptian pharaoh Chephren, who was considered divine. The Sphinx's actual inspiration may never be known. Ancient Egyptian artifacts are more than they appear. There must be a lot of hidden knowledge. However, we seem barred from delving further, both literally and symbolically. Ancient tombs. What if you could uncover the secrets of ancient Egypt by looking at the tombs of its people. Recently, archaeologists discovered 110 tombs at a site in Dakalia province. These tombs span 3 different periods of Egypt's history and reveal fascinating details about the culture, religion, and politics of the early Egyptians. The oldest tombs belong to the Buto culture, which flourished in Lower Egypt around 3300 BCE. The Buto people had a unique way of burying their dead. They placed them in oval pits, with their heads facing west and their bodies curled up. Some of them were accompanied by pottery, jewelry, and amulets. One of the most intriguing burials was that of a baby who was put inside a large clay jar. Why did they do that? We don't know for sure, but it might have been a way of protecting the child from evil spirits or predators. The secret cave in the Grand Canyon. The secret cave in the Grand Canyon is 450 km long, 6 to 30 kilometers broad, and Macandasao's 800 meters deep in the north of Arizona, and is one of the world's most beautiful natural attractions. Given that the massive valley draws thousands of people worldwide each year, we should not forget that the Grand Canyon has been the subject of outlandish conjecture. To our knowledge, no pharaonic kingdom resident visited North America. We should examine the content of the almost 100-year-old newspaper story. The myth goes that an explorer on the Colorado River saw a secret cave in the rocks. He notified the Smithsonian Institute, which began an inquiry. Workers said they found 40 truckloads of ancient Egyptian items in the cave. Numerous hieroglyphs adorned the natural hollow walls. Since this groundbreaking finding would have shattered history, the Smithsonian Institute employees sought to cover it up immediately. Thus, all Egyptian evidence in North America was eliminated. Rumors that the Grand Canyon has a hermetically sealed exclusion zone inspire intriguing stories. Ancient Egyptian city Aten, named after the sun deity Aten, was possibly inhabited for 2,000 years near Luxor. Before its September 2020 discovery, the historic village's site was forgotten for centuries. The scholars sought Tutankhamun's mortuary temple ruins. They identified the era's main economic and administrative hub. This is Egypt's most significant discovery since Tutankhamun's tomb. The Savior's Tomb. In 1980, building workers found 11 bone boxes in the crypt. An ossuary with the inscription Jesus, son of Joseph, was found. If Jesus' bones are found, the resurrection would be questioned. The Talpia tomb's identification as Jesus' family tomb is questionable from a technical standpoint. Most people dismiss this tomb as Jesus Christ's since the evidence does not support it. According to some, the inscription on the tomb of the so-called Jesus doesn't match the age of the other graves. Jesus' tomb etchings look to be newer. Another problem with this hypothesis is that numerous individuals were named Yeshua, which means Jesus. It would resemble John or Bill in English. There was also a tomb marked Judah, son of Jesus. The many historical documents of Jesus show that he never had a son. The list could go on, but numerous college and research facility specialists have decided this tomb does not belong to Jesus Christ. Others believe Jesus' last resting place is the Garden Tomb. Even here, the attribution is controversial. Final stop: Jerusalem's ancient city's Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Tradition says Jesus was crucified and buried here. One of Christianity's holiest sites is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. According to tradition, Jesus was crucified with sacred nails. It makes the cross nails one of the most treasured relics of Christ in the Catholic Church. The dilemma is that various churches claim the mythical items. Who has authentic holy nails? The topic is difficult to answer since the artifact's historical records are often ambiguous and incomplete. The remains at Trier Cathedral and the Roman Santa Croce may be real. However, some claim none were used at the crucifixion. Iron was expensive and hard to make when Jesus was crucified. Brain mysteries. Why did the brain grow so fast? Since the stunning discovery, scientists have wondered. According to the accepted scientific timeline, human brains evolve quicker than any other organism in a few 100,000 years. Some scholars believe this expansion spike occurred considerably faster, spanning a few thousand years or possibly a few hundred. Tel Aviv University researchers think our ancestors' hunting habits caused the growth surge. Early hunters hunted bison. The relentless hunting made huge prey animals rare. After that, our ancestors had to ambush smaller, more agile creatures, which demanded greater intellectual capacity. Those who could hunt smaller animals survived and passed on their genes. The prehistoric man from Crete. When researchers found an ancient footprint in Crete, scientists were confused. It looks like a contemporary human footprint. The footprint dates to 5.7 million years. Our official understanding is that Homo sapiens emerged 300,000 years ago. Official theory states that modern humans' predecessors had ape-like feet and lived in Africa over 5 million years ago. However, the Crete footprint's forward-pointing toes and extended sole entirely flip this conventional plan. What's currently since footprints were made? The mainland included the island. The Sahara did not exist then, either. In principle, the anthropoids may have moved north from Africa to Greece. Another possibility is that science misunderstands human growth. Or most likely, our carbon dating expertise is wrong. When using carbon dating, many scientists ignore that numerous events over the years might have substantially boosted or diminished carbon-14. A single cosmic event might alter the carbon-14 timescale by tens of thousands of years. Because of this, many scientists and historians distrust carbon-14 dating. Most scientists utilize this approach despite substantial evidence that its conclusions may be erroneous. This method seems reliable for generating timelines of events during the previous few thousand years. However, making assumptions millions of years later renders the approach ineffective. Memories in the womb. A new study found that fetuses have short-term memory at 30 weeks. Researchers evaluated 100 unborn children. Gentle noises in the womb vibrated the newborns. The fetus's responses were then examined using ultrasonography. Since the 30th week of pregnancy, the fetus can recall the stimulation for 10 minutes. Unborn children may remember memories for 4 weeks to 34 weeks. The mysterious stairway. Egyptians built a mysterious stairway in the desert. The staircase remains unsolved and unexplored. Near Abu Roash, rough foundation stones were cut into stairs. For years, scientists have pondered the stairs. It is because the stairs seem to go nowhere. Their steps go submerged after a short distance. Who carved the stairs here, or for what reason so long ago, is unknown. A team of historians examined and followed the steps underwater. They found a big shrub-covered expanse of dirty water near the base. One researcher found a big block spanning a ditch while searching for evidence. He believes comparable blocks formerly covered this region. As the weather changed over thousands of years, the blocks were damaged, swept away, or looted. Another possibility is that these blocks protected or masked the stairs from unauthorized users. A common historical notion is that these steps lead to underground caverns and tunnels thousands of years ago. Some civilizations even equipped subterranean tunnels to produce vegetation, raise cattle, and shelter hundreds of people. These were commonly used to defend against passing invaders. This may explain why big bricks covered the hidden staircase. The original designers did not want adversaries to know about their underground tunnel network. British researcher Andrew Collins believes that if this tunnel system exists, numerous undiscovered bat and spider species may be hiding in these prohibited tunnels. This supernatural platform would have allowed priests to speak with a higher power to learn about humankind and govern their people. According to legend, the high priest would enter the platform, hear God's voices, and impart critical information. Sumerians are among the first civilized humans to exist on Earth, making them some of the most intriguing individuals ever. The Sumerians founded one of the first large towns. They possessed knowledge that subsequent settlements lacked for thousands of years. The Sumerians produced several symbols and characters used today or in other forms. Uniform writing was unheard of at the time. Sumerians were devout and credited their many inventions to the gods. They told legends of gods coming down to see humans. They provided information that would advance civilization thousands of years, such as the wheel and plow. Religion was central to their existence. Sumerians depicted a stargate that enabled them to communicate with the gods. A Sumerian seal depicts a divinity entering the earthly world through a strange doorway. A deity is on a staircase surrounded by water columns. To make their tale more appealing, the Sumerians created hundreds of pieces of art depicting gods visiting Earth in unearthly ways, including flying saucers. Many of their works depict stars and galaxies. but we do not see how Sumerians knew about space. Since they were ancient people and one of the first to inhabit the Earth, they did not have telescopes. How could such an old culture have known so much about outer space without current technology to examine the planets in antiquity? People seldom made non-functional items. The place is especially more remarkable since, like Stonehenge, it is where lines intersect. Ley lines link key areas. There have been rumors that these lines have an ethereal meaning, although this has not been proven. Some academics think the T-shaped columns were 12,000-year-old stargates. The history of this graveyard spans thousands of years, but many mysteries remain. In recent months, a team of scientists excavating the site produced one of the most significant historical findings. They found an abandoned grave. Historians believe the tomb was placed there 4,200 years ago by a lady who never lived. After investigating the burial and determining who was inside, they uncovered the body of King Teddy's third wife. Currently, scholars only know of 2 spouses King Teddy claimed. They had to rewrite history to incorporate a third woman no one knew existed. They removed at least 100 hand-carved wooden coffins with distinctive inscriptions from these chambers. Stranger still, most of the corpses in these tombs had golden tongues in their mouths. Ancients believed that a golden tongue would allow you to talk after death. Even weirder, the researchers unearthed a trove of death masks, grave figurines, and amulets, and concluded they belonged to an ancient sect obsessed with death and the afterlife. In addition, they found the Book of the Dead. This book's inscription describes several ways a soul may enter the afterlife. Even more intriguing, this book was written by a mortal who has never visited the afterlife. How they learned so much about the Forbidden Realm is unknown. At first look, the notion that Egypt has a massive secret labyrinth appears bold. These believers base their belief on contemporary reports, not their imagination. The historian said all his people's buildings were less impressive than that labyrinth. The pyramids are nothing compared to this majestic tower in depth. This massive temple reportedly has over 3,000 chambers. These were lavishly furnished chambers with hieroglyphs and murals. However, Herodotus provides the most complete building descriptions. The sole extant Greek historical work is 9 5th century BC texts. According to Herodotus, this structure comprises 12 courtyards and 6 north and south gateways. A massive linked wall surrounds the structure. The historian divides the almost 3,000 chambers into subterranean and above-ground rooms. The historian witnessed the top rooms but only heard about the basement chambers. The complex was Herodotus's ideal destination. He stated that entering the sacred compound revealed a temple with 40 pillars on each side. It featured a single stone ceiling with panels and beautiful murals. It remembered each king's country, temples, and sacrifices. The fact that all historians describe the labyrinths similarly in substance and detail is notable. Some experts believe the site was real because of this. Yes, some are already doing it. The Madaha mission, a scientific project, aims to revive the labyrinth myth. Our most advanced technology should be used for this. The first step was to locate the long-lost labyrinth exactly. The Madaha voyage depended on Herodotus's information to succeed. He said the facility was somewhat above Lake Moeris and opposite the Crocodile City. Alpha, or Crocodiliopolis in Greek, is likely the location. The Hawara Pyramid is the center of the spectacular Amenemhat II necropolis south of Al-Fayyum. In the pharaoh's 15th year, construction began on the 58-meter-tall, 105-meter-wide pyramid. However, the scholars of that time salvaged several intriguing remnants that were subsequently classified as labyrinth ruins. In 1888, English archaeologist Flinders Petrie began studying the Hawara necropolis. A year later, he entered the pyramid belly after exploring the neighboring graves. Petrie worked on other projects in the following years, returning to Hawara in 1911. The researcher and crew could now see the concealed labyrinth in size and character, following excavations. However, archaeologists were disillusioned. After extensive damage, the complex could no longer be rebuilt. Many assumed the remains were the labyrinth's foundations. What if Petrie and his team were wrong? Herodotus and Strabo described the complex's huge stone roof. Some believe the unearthed foundation was the structure's top cover, not the base. Ancient Golden City, Imagine a city of gold where a pharaoh and his queen defied the gods and created a new religion. A city that was lost for centuries until a team of archaeologists uncovered its secrets in 2020. This is the story of Akhenaten, Nefertiti, and the Golden City. Akhenaten was a pharaoh who ruled Egypt from 1353 to 1336 BCE. He is famous for abandoning the traditional polytheistic religion of Egypt and establishing a monotheistic cult of the sun god Aten. He also moved his capital from Thebes to a new city called Akhetaten, meaning Horizon of the Aten. There, he and his wife Nefertiti built temples, palaces, and statues dedicated to their new faith. But why did he do this? What motivated him to change the history and culture of Egypt? One possible answer may lie in the Golden City, a large urban settlement that was discovered near Luxor in September 2020. The city dates back to the reign of Akhenaten, and it may have been his administrative and industrial center before he moved to Akhetaten. The city is remarkably well preserved, with walls, streets, houses, workshops, and even a bakery still intact. Archaeologists have found many artifacts that shed light on the life and economy of the city, such as tools, pottery, jewelry, scarabs, and seals. They have also found evidence of Akhenaten's religious reforms, such as inscriptions and statues of Aten,